So we have a battle of former MVPs, Kevin Durant and Nikola Jokic tonight in Denver. It's their second meeting of the season. Jokic took the first back in December. Now Devin Booker is out with an ankle sprain, so the scoring load will once again be on KD's shoulders. Now, what I love about this matchup is that we have two 7-footers who are the best at what they do in completely different ways. I mean, KD is the master of the mid-range, and Jokic, he's the professor who has a PhD in passing, and I'll show you exactly on the court. KD versus Jokic, he gets to his spot, elevates after a switch and going under the screen, and he knocks it down. He has the most mid-range points per game in the NBA. Now, on the other side, we're talking about the professor in passing. Right here, that's an ice screen. Usually people shoot. Instead, he attracts the entire defense. No one in the NBA has more assists, that's a forward or a center, than Nikola Jokic. So it's very, very impressive, those two 7-footers doing it differently. Now, the Suns will be without Devin Booker tonight and are 8.5-point underdogs against the defending champs. So odds makers really believe that Phoenix is heading towards their third straight loss. Now, Zach, what is so important to you about the Phoenix Suns, especially in their game tonight? This has to be a statement one.
Every game is urgent for the Suns. This team went all in, invested everything they had, and falling into the play-in would risk a disaster scenario for the playoffs. It's a huge, huge game. Every game's a huge game. If you beat the Nuggets, it's almost like a double win. Yep. It's an unexpected win. So the pressure is on Phoenix in every single game down the stretch of the season. Yeah,
we all know that Phoenix has truly fallen short a little bit of expectations so far this season. But an interesting debate that came up in our newsroom before the show was like the legacies of Jokic and KD, especially as we see in this matchup. And here's actually a look at their current resumes for these two Hall of Famers. Jokic has the 2-1 edge in MVPs and could be adding another to his case after this season. Now, KD, though, has 2-1 titles advantage and is 9th on the all-time scoring list. So, Scott, if the Nuggets are able to do what no team has done since KD's Warriors and win back-to-back titles, would Jokic surpass Durant in your estimation for career? I know that's a tough question, but like when you stack it up head-to-head, it's interesting.
It's very interesting, but I'm a little partial to KD. Look, I was part of the front office and drafted this young man 17 years ago in Seattle. He's been one of the most lethal scorers that we've seen in this game. And like you say, he's 2-time NBA champion. He is 10-time All-NBA. I mean, he has just done it for so long. Now, Jokic is creeping up on him, and I have to give him that. And so, but right now, today, I still got to give the slight edge, and it may be a little biased, but to my man KD, because 17 years and doing this so consistently, I marvel at that. And
I'm with you there, and some of it is just age. I mean,
yes.
Kevin Durant's 35. Jokic just turned 29, so he's got 6 years on him there. But I think it's also both of these guys are one of one. I can't think of a comp for either of them.
Yeah, right.
And they've changed, and both of them have changed the game in the way that they've played it, in the way that people had to react to them. When Kevin Durant joined the Warriors, the whole league had to change to try to match up with him. I think the whole league has had to change to try to match up with the Denver Nuggets, especially if they get it going again this year, get back to the finals, maybe win again. Have we ever seen a big man who can pass like this?
Thank you.
Ever seen a big man who can score the way that Jokic? There's a few, maybe Sabonis.
Arvydas Sabonis was the closest one, but we saw the injured version once he got.
The one thing I will say about both of them, though, and I think it's great. They're both just basketball junkies. They just love.
Love.
You can talk about Jokic and his horse racing, whatever. No. They are basketball savants.
Tremendous point, Ramona. And Kevin Durant, I mean, I think he's going to be playing basketball. If he's not in the NBA at 50 years old, he'll be playing in somebody's league. He'll be playing basketball somewhere.
That is true. And, you know, for me, I see Kevin Durant as one of the greatest scorers of all time. I know a lot of, not too long ago, people were saying, put me in the greatest of all time conversation. I know that by the time Jokic is done, we'll have that same mandate. Put me in the greatest of all time conversation.
Yes.
But still, maybe because I'm a millennial, but I love what KD has done with his game. I think the narrative has affected how people perceive him to some degree.
Yes.
But these two guys are winning in completely different ways. What was Big Sean's song? I Was Raised by the Wolves. They hosted the Blazers last night in Minnesota. Now, Anthony Edwards, though, was running out to the court late to tip off, and he would actually have to sub in, Ramona.
I mean, Richard Jefferson does that every time on this show, but I think he does it on purpose to mess with us.
Yeah.
This was like somebody just needed to tap him earlier and be like, hey, game on.
But it didn't slow him down. Okay, the T-Wolves, 55-48 going into halftime. Now let's go to the third quarter where Rudy Gobert, throws down the dunk. And one, son, T-Wolves up after the free throw. And then the final seconds of the third, T-Wolves up again. just beautiful basketball, Scott.
Oh, it's great basketball. You love to see a break when they're sharing the basketball that way and finishing.
Correct. Under 6 minutes left. Trailblazers down 105-90. Anthony Simons, oh my goodness, stifles the tower.
One of the posters of the year.
He thought better of it.
That might be poster of the year.
Oh, it's a nominee. It's definitely a nominee. Edwards right there drives and makes the layup. Edwards finishes with 13 points, and the T-Wolves go on to win 119-114. Now, the T-Wolves have had at least a share of the best record in the West for 94 days this season as they seek just their second #1 seed in franchise history. So I would like to run through the Wild Wild West, and starting at the top here, let's fire up the official playoff predictor. The top 3 seeds are only separated by a half game. So Zach, what stands out to you in the race to the top?
How the 3 teams at the top have kind of separated themselves from the Clippers now, and the Clippers are in danger of kind of nestling in to that 4 seed. But that race for #1 is very, very even. Minnesota still plays Denver 3 more times, and we're going to learn about who really wants home court advantage. Remember how critical it was for Denver last year on their way to the title. This is one of the more interesting subplots because that top seed is there for the taking. But of course, in the era of the play-in, it's hard to know who the matchups are going to be and who you're going to play. You may end up facing a team down there that you maybe don't want to face so much.
Scott, who do you think will take the #1 at the end of the regular season?
I think the Denver Nuggets are going to do it. They're starting to play the kind of basketball that led them to the championship last year, and they've got the best player in basketball right now. So I'm leaning towards them. They're playing the best at the right time of the season.
That is true, and if you did see our predictor, they actually have the second easiest remaining strength of schedule, so the Denver Nuggets are favorites, and, you know, they know how to get there. But, Ramona, who do you think will finish #1 overall?
So after the All-Star break, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope recently told everybody that Nikola Jokic sent a text message to the whole group and said, guys, it's time to go. Now, he didn't say exactly what was in the text message because it's always a mystery. That it fired everybody else. When have you seen Jokic send a group text like that? We never hear about stuff like that. I think he's decided it's go time. For a long time, we wondered if they cared where they finished in the standings. It looks like they care, and I think Denver gets that.
They do care, but you guys, my prediction early on was the Clippers, and I actually have a little validation here because if I slide over, first let's look at the Clippers. The Clippers have the 11th easiest remaining. Yes, they did just come off of a loss, but as I slide over to the projections, y'all, look at what we project winning the title. 10.1% for the Los Angeles Clippers overall in our playoff predictor. I know that's going to shock a lot of people, except Malika and I, who are like, we're standing pat. Like, we feel like the Clippers are finally going to make it to the Western Conference Finals.
I mean, the Nuggets would like a word.
They would definitely like a word, but don't worry. I'm saying it's Nuggets, Clippers in the Western Finals.
I understand you going after the Clippers, though. They're supremely talented.
Yes.
Okay, we talked about the top of the top. How about why don't we go to the bottom of the standings? 5 through 10 are all separated by only 3.5 games. So, Scott, who do you think finishes 5th and 6th and completely avoids the play-in entirely?
Well, I struggle with this one, but right now I'm going to go with the Sacramento Kings and the Dallas Mavericks, mainly because of the guard play.
Let's see what the scenario looks like. The Kings moving up to 5, maybe?
I am partial to guard play, and I think late in the season when you got guards who can play downhill, like Sacramento has De'Aaron Fox, and then, you know, Luka Doncic is having an MVP caliber season, along with Kyrie Irving there. I just like guard play being dominant down the stretch, so that's why I went with those two.
I mean, the Phoenix Suns are a very talented team. If you'd have told us at the beginning of the year they'd be in the play-in tournament, none of us would have believed you.
Ooh.
But Devin Booker, with that injury right now, even whether it's a week, 10 days, whatever it is, they cannot afford to lose him for any length of time because they have one of the toughest schedules.
I mean, not one of. The playoff predictors literally telling us right here they have the toughest remaining schedule in the NBA. That is quite wild. Zach, what do you think about the bottom?
Well, look, the Phoenix, let's not mince words. If the Suns are in the play-in, this is a potential disaster scenario for Phoenix, who went all in to build this team and just hasn't seen it together. When they've been together, they've been really good.
Yeah.
But once you're in the play-in, you are super vulnerable to not even making the playoffs or getting a matchup where it's just too hard to win 2 and 3 rounds. We haven't talked about the Pelicans, and I want to bring up those odds again because I think I saw the Pelicans with like a 94% chance of making the playoffs. Very quietly, they have a manageable schedule. They're nicely in 5th right now, and those playoff odds really like them snagging a top 6 seed. The Pelicans, if they manage to do that, and most systems think they they have a really good chance to do it. What a major victory it would be for them, despite injuries here and there to their big three. We haven't seen them that much together. That would be a nice accomplishment for them, and they're in a good position to do it. And by the way, a very tricky team to match up with for anybody because of how unusual Zion is.
Yeah, Zion being able to be point forward, but also be able to play back to the basket, and then their length on the perimeter. They are one of my dark horses in the West. Now.